Hi, hi.
Hello there. How are you?
I'm fine, and you?
I'm doing good. So as I understand it, you're a new teacher?
Yeah, but no, no, no. Like I I wasn't chosen as a teacher, so I tried to be a TA.
Yeah,
I
yeah, that
want to be
works.
a real teacher.
Yeah, of course. I'm sure you'll become a real teacher very soon. Of
Thank you.
course. Hello to everybody who's joining. My name is Ethan. I'm actually going to, can I, there's a lot of people using this account. I don't want to change my name, but my name is Ethan Parab. Um, and I'm going to be doing the training session for AI003 Plus. So we're going to wait just a minute for anybody who wants to come in to come in. We don't rush into it. So yeah, I mean, like, yeah, I hope you guys are all doing great. There's going to be a Q&A session at the very end. So just a heads up, I'm gonna have like 10 or 15 minutes at the end, just for that. So, but I mean, if you guys have any questions at all, feel free to send them in chat or to raise your hand, with the little button. Um, yeah, so just going to, yeah, we got some more joiners.
Hello,
Welcome,
Ethan.
welcome, welcome.
Can I have a quick question that is there a class on July 4th and also the Sunday before? July 3rd and July 4th, are there classes or the classes are not in session because of a holiday?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
The question is there a class on July 4th? I mean,
Um,
no.
I'm not managing any specific class.
Okay.
There's multiple classes that are running. I'd recommend you send a message to Mike about that. If you're
Okay.
asking like about that sort of thing. But this is a training
Okay.
session for 003 Plus.
I see. Thank
Mhm.
you.
Right, welcome, welcome everybody. Great to have you guys. I think we're gonna get started. So yeah, I'm gonna introduce myself again. My name is Ethan Parab. I'm actually going to actually it's probably best if I do that. Yeah, okay. My name is Ethan Parab, and I'm going to be delivering the AI003 Plus training session. So as I understand it, but all of you guys are either new to the 003 Plus teaching or you want to be evaluated for that. Um, so yeah, I mean, I'm just going to go into myself. I'm a teacher for Thinkland. I have been for the past almost a year now. And I've taught 4 classes. I am evaluated to teach for 005 Java, 003 Python, and 003 plus PyGame. Um, so yeah, I mean, um, let's get right into it here. For those guys who don't know, 003 Plus is a course designed by a guy in the Discord server named Andre Holder. If you have any questions about the curriculum, where it's going, or if, anything further like that, he'd be a good person to ask about that sort of thing. Um, but yeah, no. So this training, so I'm just gonna do, whoops, wrong button. So I'm gonna do presenter view. There we go. Okay, and I can just screen share that. Okay, you guys should be able to see the presentation on my screen. Let me know if you ever can, and I can troubleshoot that with you. But first I gotta ask guys, how you guys doing? Good, good. All right, I see it. All right, so we're gonna get right into it here. So first of all, we're going to start asking ourselves, what is 003 Plus? It is a continuation of 003. It was into game development with Python. So 003 is really fundamental Python. These are the language tools that you have available to you. These are the skills that you would need to actually organize code, that sort of thing. And 0 Plus is specifically using Python to go into game development. It does not really cover very much in terms of Python fundamentals. So the students that you're going to be getting should be already pretty fairly well versed in terms of how to write things in Python, how to organize in Python, that sort of thing. Um, It's based on a library known as PyGame, which I'm going to be going a little bit more deeply into in the rest of this training session. It teaches basic skills for Python with graphics and physics and all sorts of things that you would need in terms of game development through this game engine. Now, keep in mind the PyGame game development engine is only built for 2D, so you're not going to be going past 2D, which is probably good for like the basic sorts of things. But you won't have to worry about 3D graphics or anything like that. So yeah, I mean, so the course breakdown. So it's broken down into 2 levels here. And so in order to get you guys a better view of it, I'm actually going to go to the outline because that's a little more detailed. So there's 2 levels here, and there's 4 units within each level. Level 1 we start out with it starts out with drawing, images, animations, and controls. So unit 1 is really about learning how to make animations, to create your own images, to import assets, resize things, get a window out, and get really, really basic things out of the way. Also in that is included controls, how to add keyboard controls. 3D, I'm pretty sure in PyGame, you can also do gamepad controls, which you can look at if you'd like to introduce that, you can, but I mean, keyboard controls is all you really need for the course to teach the course. But if you feel it's necessary, you can add some stuff. And the course will teach you how to program those keys and mouse buttons to actually control a really, really basic game. From there on, there's unit 2, coding collisions. So collisions in physics and all sorts of things are generally fairly complicated in terms of figuring out when exactly one object collides with another one. And so instead of making you write that complicated code, PyGame has some collision code written for you. And so all you have to do is make a simple call to detect if a collision has happened and then act on that collision. And so in that unit, you'll be teaching how to make a classic Pong game for 1 or 2 players. Again, fairly basic graphics. Your goal is to just impart the collisions knowledge. Sounds, music, fonts, and text are little bells and whistles that you can load into your game to make it a little bit more immersive, a little bit more interactive. And that really just deals with pulling assets outside of your file into the PyGame environment and actually using them within your window. And that last one is a project where you give to the students an assignment to make a project and to actually work on a game. How detailed, how specific you want that game to be, you could, if you want to, figure out a game idea yourself and be like, okay, this is what you teach, or this is what you make. Or you could leave it open-ended and just say, make whatever you want as long as it incorporates this, and this. What I find is that I've always, when I've given projects, left it fairly open-ended in case some students want to elaborate on that, make more. But I always give one option, like an idea for that open-ended thing, so they don't feel so lost. But really how you approach that is really up to you. From there on, this is a solid, like, this can be anywhere from 12 to 16 weeks. I'm not entirely sure how long the courses are in this one. Can't remember off the top of my head. But there's going to be a lot of different courses. So you should really be covering, you can have plenty of classes to cover each of these units. So really what you should be doing is a flow presentation, and then practice, then you might do activities, that sort of thing, all over the course of a few classes, and then move on to the next one. And I'd allocate, depending on how collaborative you want to make it, if it's more collaborative, you want to give some more time for this last bit, because you want to give them class time to actually work with their partners. But yeah, so that's going to be level 1. Level 1 is going to be the starting point here. Level 2 is it starts out with writing course for bigger projects, writing cleaner code for bigger projects. And it doesn't really introduce any new content in terms of like what you can actually implement. It helps you organize your code so that you can actually move into those big advanced projects. It's an organization unit. Unit 2 is advanced graphics, where you can have special effects or particle effects. You can also do shading. Graphics in 2D are obviously a little bit limited in terms of what they do, but I mean, you will be giving that that knowledge on how to use shaders and that sort of thing. Writing code for also effects like fire and lighting are also pretty useful if you want a lighting-centered game. Writing AI, as in writing game AIs or like enemies or things of that sort for your games will be this next bit. And there's a little bit of an intro to basic machine learning involved in that, where they develop AIs that learn through experience, which I think is pretty interesting. It's an interesting class to teach. And then this final one is just like this last one, create a game. So yeah, I mean, using all these new concepts, you create another game. And obviously, same thing as before. You can leave it open-ended. You can say, these are the criteria you have to include them. Or you can be very, very specific and just say, this is one way you could approach this. Or you could just go a mix of those two. It's really up to you how you want to approach this problem here. But yeah, that is the PyGame curriculum in a nutshell. We can take a look at the actual course outline here. This is the training classroom, which has all of the assets, example code, that sort of thing. You would really need to, you'd have to talk to Mike or Andre to get access to this. I don't think it's on the Start Here page. I can't remember. But when I started, it wasn't the Start Here page, but it might be there now. But yeah, so this is the course outline that I just went over with you guys. This is the demo class. I'll come back to that. For that might be a mistake. Level 1's down here, where essentially Unit 1. There's a bunch of different things here that you can use. I'll show you each one of those examples. Unit 2 gives you some examples. Unit 3 doesn't have any. Doesn't look like. What is it? What is Unit 3? Can't remember off the top of my head. Unit 3 was sounds, music, fonts, text. Okay, so I guess it's just categorized under other, already covered around here, mixer controls, yeah. And Unit 4 looks like it has a bunch of different things like practice and sound effects and all sorts of other things. There's also like sprite things, other assets that you might need to make these run. But ultimately, like this is just an outline for what you can do. There is, of course, this, which is given. The level 1 presentation, which I strongly encourage you guys to take a look through. I can give it to you guys in a link actually in the chat. This is here. That's what I'm looking at. This is the, it might start you at, yeah, it starts at slide 18, but you just want to start at the top. Yeah, I mean, this really covers in basics what actually all the stuff is. And I don't think it's on the course page, but you can ask Andre about this. There are actually unit-specific presentations that go a little bit more in depth. So yeah, I mean, yeah, so there's these different projects that have been done in PyGame. I'm obviously not going to do those in the training session. Those will take a little bit more time. But you can obviously check this out and actually read through the code, see what they're doing in here. But yeah, so really basic graphics, but I mean very advanced in terms of what actually is going on under the hood. So I really encourage you to take a look at these well-established games in PyGame. Resources that you can use for are obviously the PyGame documentation. I find that incredibly useful when I don't know how to do something in PyGame. The examples folder, Andre's provided several examples for what you should be doing. They're also in the training here. And this is the same course overview that I had for you. You've started with a review. These are the mathematical operations, just indexes, for loops, while loops, and then it goes into the units. So I recommend you take a look through that yourself. Unit 2, or not Unit 2, Level 2, there's likewise another presentation, PyGame Advanced, very, very similar. Reviewing, or sorry, should I leave? Place on first. Yeah, of course, you can go ahead and leave. Yeah, Leanna. So yeah, so PyGame projects. This was already in the last one. It's a course overview in terms of what exactly level 2 will be looking at. You won't be teaching level 1 and level 2 in the same class. Ultimately, those are separated into separate and distinct classes in themselves. So you will be assigned one of level 2 or level 1. You should be able to teach both. And then you just pick up at the beginning of that specific level and end at the end of that level. So of course, coding habits, advanced graphics for with PyGame. It's collisions, physics examples. Yeah, physics can be a little bit tough, but yeah, I mean, I recommend the examples really take you through it. If you don't have a physics education in terms of like actual like real world physics, those really would help out. Better AIs, machine learning. There are some examples. I don't think there's anything. I think this might be the end of it. Yeah, no. But yeah, my goal is not to teach you guys everything that's in here. My goal is to give you guys an idea of what you're going to be teaching in terms of if you're getting into this course. So yeah, let's see. So I believe I was presentation slide. You guys here? Yeah, okay. So the suggested flow, in case this is your first training session thing, for all of the courses. This applies generally to all of the courses, but this is how I organize out my course, and I do it. Suggested flow to teacher course is to start up by looking over the course content. All of it, like level 1 and level 2. You should really be versed in all of it and be ready to teach any of it. And once you're done with that, you should submit your evaluation. Submitting an evaluation, I believe at this point it is you submit a video to a form of yourself doing a lesson. Back in my time, it was you actually met with an evaluator, but I believe that it's a video now. Yeah, and I don't think you're after the evaluation, I don't think you're contacted if your evaluation has been accepted. You might have to just reach out to Mike to find out about that. But yeah, so after that evaluation submitted, whether or not you have been accepted, you should take the time to start up with your organization. So separate the units as needed. Andre is given a separation of units 1, 2, 3, 4. And obviously there's a lot of content in each of those units. You could separate those out to smaller units. You could have 5, 6 units if you really want to. Play around with it. Everybody teaches in their own way. This course stuff is not meant to be restrictive. It's not meant to force you to a box. It's meant to give you a base to build on your own course. So break it down as you feel fit, as you see fit, sorry. And from there, your goal is to get organized. So I'm going to show you organization for an older course I've taught. So this is, yeah, okay. I'm going to show you 003 level 2. This is not 003 plus. This is just a different course entirely. But the point that I'm trying to make with organization stands the same. I divided it up into units and projects, project labs. And essentially in every single unit, I have lesson plans, presentations, outlines. If I have practice sheets that I've written, then I make the practice, then I put the practice sheets in there. Whatever I feel is necessary. If you need presentations, then you put presentations, that sort of thing. Keeps things organized for you and makes it so that you have an idea of what the course is going to be looking like. Same thing with projects. So those are general resources that you use for every single time you teach that specific course level. As for getting organized, you write practice files, you figure out your supplemental activities, etc. And you do whatever you have to get ready in terms of materials for the course. I mean, if you have a week between course classes and you just add loss, you could just leave a very, very basic structure in place and just come back to it whenever you need to and add things on as you go. But I mean, the more you get out of the way before the course starts, the better, the more prepared you'll feel for the course. Of course, the archives that I have here, I'll show you guys in a second. Developing a calendar. So I'm going to show you the older courses that I've taught, and let's go with spring. Yeah, okay, this is level AI003 level 2. And very simply, I developed a calendar once I got my course. So I got the number of courses or number of classes that I had with the dates of them, transported them from my class, I believe. Yeah, I believe my class is where I found that. So I just put in my name, and of course I had the courses. I had a class calendar out of that. I believe it was it this one? Yeah, I think it was. Okay, yeah, this was the one. So week 1 all the way up to 15, and it also tells you when there's no class for holidays or whatever. And I just grabbed those dates, put them in there. From there, I added a unit column and just marked out what lesson or what class session is going to correspond to what unit, so that I keep on pace and I always have an idea of where I'm going with the course. Of course, there's every course will be different in terms of how you want to pace it out. There's only one project in 003 Pulse levels at the very end, but obviously you can scatter smaller projects in there if you feel necessary. The finale it's not necessary. It's just something that I put. It's an open-ended day where I just have a bunch of options for the students, and I can teach them whatever they want, whatever they vote on. Little idea that I have, but it's up to you. But I mean, the rest of this is pretty standard. And this organization helps you also with coordinated with subs. If you have a sub and you have a calendar, it's a lot easier for them to tell, okay, what has already been covered, what do I need to pick up on, even after you give them a lesson plan. You don't have to use an Excel sheet. You can use any kind of calendar you want, but I really recommend you have a calendar in place. I believe that the ThinkLab platform might have a calendar built in. You could use that if you feel that's better. And that's after once you get the course. And as you go or in advance, you could do this once you get the course. I would write an agenda. Pretty straightforward. Essentially, every single I just put the day at the top, have icebreakers, and just the daily flow and what has to be done during that specific day. I also have REPL links, or whatever the students might find useful for that day at the end, so that they can come back to it and actually take a look at it. I link the presentations and practices that I do in that. Yeah, so I just have every single day that I teach, I have a agenda page that I just load up and have it ready at the beginning of the start of the course, or start of the class, that is. So yeah, that's my organization personally. And obviously you guys can develop whatever kind of organization you feel is best, but I don't recommend just having a bunch of files floating around in one folder and just haphazardly moving through, because it'll the organization, having little organization doesn't really work out long term. So yeah, that's how I do it. So before we get any further, I'm going to give you a little demo, which is a part of Unit 1.1, to try to give you guys an idea of what PyGame is, how to use it, that sort of thing. Keep in mind, in the interest of time, it is an abridged version of Unit 1.1, Level 1, Unit 1, that is. To give you a basic understanding of PyGame, students will need more time, they will need more practice, and this is also basically the assumption that you are able to access the course materials and you will be able to come back and revisit everything. This is not the demo lesson you will have to submit for evaluation. That's different. I'm not going to be giving that. That's at the very top of the course page, not this. Very top here, you just give this bouncing ball lesson. Yeah, so so without further ado, I'm just going to get right into it. So Unit 1.1, in very, very simple terms here, is going to be this. It's Unit 1, animation, drawing, and controls. There's more detailed Unit 1 presentation. There's a series of presentations, actually, which, I mean, they all have very, very detailed things about drawing shapes with polygons. I can actually go through these. Game controls, bouncing ball, begin animation, and working with images. So they're not on the course training page. I couldn't tell you why, but I would ask Andre Holder about that. You can find him on the Discord server. But yeah, so this, I'm gonna be going off of the abridged version here. So to start out, when I teach a class, I always I tend to have some notes or something as a reference for what I should be covering and what I should be teaching. So I can actually show you what my screen looks like, not just this application. Here, looks like this. There are, here's my presentation, teaching window, and I have notes on the side where essentially these are the resources, these 4 were resources that I've been given. This is something that I wrote up my own time, just to get acquainted with the library a while ago. But yeah, so these are things that you've been given that you can use as references just on the side to make sure you don't miss anything, and make sure you have something to step through for the lesson. But I recommend you read through all of these really in live detail before you start anything. So yeah, that being said, you can use whatever IDE you want to. I tend to try to use REPL because I can just share it with the students, but you can also I use PyCharm usually on the side when I'm not doing classes. You can foresee, I'm just going to, can I delete this REPL? We can get rid of this REPL. This is just something that I wanted to try it before the class, before this training thing started. There we go. So in order to make a PyGame REPL, you cannot just use a Python. I've tried it, and the problem being with a REPL, with this, it doesn't actually have a way of actually displaying graphics, which is a bit of a problem. Because if there's no graphics, how do you make a game library work? And so to that end, REPL actually has a very, very specific flavor of Python, which is PyGame specifically, which is Python, but with also a video, a video spot. You'll get what I mean when I actually go in there. So always have descriptive names. Yeah. So this is going to be the environment. And of course, configure it as you feel is best. But to start out with actually learning and like doing things with PyGame, you have to, at the very start, import PyGame. You will actually have to install it with students if they don't use REPLs, and so the command to install that is if they already have Python installed. I would assume they do if they were already in AI003. Pip install PyGame on a local command prompt. But if you just go by this method, you don't have to. So you of course have to import PyGame, and before you do anything, you have to do PyGame init. And really what this does, simple terms, is there's a lot of different modules in PyGame that have to be initialized in terms of like graphics and background processing for actually running Windows and everything. And you could manually initialize every single module, but the thing being every single module will throw an error if it's in the wrong platform and if it doesn't get initialized, whatever. And so ultimately, if you just call PyGame init, it'll just initialize every single module that you need. Very cross-platform friendly too, as you can run this on several platforms and it'll run the same. So yeah, PyGame init is how you start out. Very simple. And so before you write any code, you're going to want to set a screen width and a screen height. So screen these are going to be globals. It's going to be 800 by 600. That's going to be a resolution. And I'm also going to set that. So now we have a resolution there. And in order to create that window, everything, and with that resolution, set it, we have to call one little method here, which is PyGame, PyGame display dot set mode. And there's a lot of different set options you can see here, a lot of them. But set mode is what we're going to be looking for. Resolution. Very straightforward. Starting out really simple. And so in order to actually run this thing, you're going to have a loop to actually, oh, whoops, we got somebody in the waiting room. In order to actually run this thing, you will have to have a loop to handle all the events that happen. And I'm going to show you what events are actually going to happen in a second. But for the moment, I'm just going to write down running. It's true. And I'm going to do a while loop running. Running is going to be the bit that keeps us actually in this loop. And in order to get all the events that happen in a list format, there's a little method we called pygame.event.get. And this will return a list of, you can see over here, get events from the queue. It'll get any queued up events that are still left since the last get call. And in order to actually process this list of events, we use a for loop for event in that. So that essentially scans through all the events. And essentially, if event dot, and there's a property called type, equals quit, pygame.quit, then we are going to set running to false. So pygame.quit corresponds to you pushing the X button on the window. It's literally like if I push the X button here. Very straightforward loop. And once we're out of this loop, of course, we just say pygame.quit. There we go. Very, very simple. Very, very straightforward game window. Now, as you can see, graphics can be a little bit wonky in terms of running things in a REPL. Hard to really avoid that, but yeah, I mean, hold on. There we go. I'm just gonna size this down a little bit. Yeah, this is one of the sorts of things you might run into with the REPL, things being a little bit wonky with graphics. I'm gonna set the display size a little bit down. There we go. And of course, we just have that. And we can push the X button, it'll quit without error. Everything will be fine. In order to actually display something on the screen, this PyGame.display.set mode, it returns something called a surface object. And we're going to store that surface object in something called screen. And quite simply, the way that you would fill the with the RGB values. So 255, 0, whoops. I don't know what I clicked there. Fill 255. It's a tuple, 3 values. Okay. And then, of course, the final thing we have to call is pygame.display.flip, which is an update function. And of course, we have a game window filled with white. That's it. And then we can just push the X button to escape that. Pretty straightforward. And so one thing I advise you do is comment everything, comment your steps, so that your students can actually come back to this like a note sheet. You have to initialize it first. Okay, and I'm just going to say main loop. Now this loop over here, this for event and PyGame.event, it's something called an event handler. You might have heard of it before, but it deals with all the events that happen. So it's called the event handler. Fill screen with white. Which is 255, 255, 255. Update the display. And if we happen to break out of this loop, quit PyGame. So of course we can also do some more interesting things with this. We can also draw entities. So in order to do that, we are actually going to create another surface. So we're going to say player surf equals PyGame dot surface or surface. We're going to say 25 by 25 square. And this is going to be their player, and we're going to fill our player's surface. Just like we did, this is also a surface. We could just say player surf dot fill. Now, since the screen's white, we're going to make this black so that we can actually see it. And from there, very straightforward, we can do PyGame dot screen dot blit. Blit draws from one surface onto another. So we can say player dot surf or player surf. And then we just need to give a quick hold coordinate. We can say 0, 25. And of course, we get that. I'm going to do 75. 25. And just to break down what happened there, I'm going to draw it out. So we, of course, have our x-axis right over here. We have our y-axis. Those are terrible lines. That's the best I can do. And essentially, this point right over here is 75 with the x-axis. And this point, this top left, is 25. So the screen will be projected with the top left corner of itself on wherever you projected with this coordinate pair. And essentially using that, you can move things around as you see fit within this PyGame window. One thing I recommend, by the way, for PyGame, always be ready to use your annotation tool. Be comfortable with it because annotation is really, really useful to be able to draw what's going on here. So in order to make our make actually drawing things out a little bit more simple, we're actually going to, instead of using these coordinates that we can just move around here, we're going to use something called the rect. So there's a little dot get, or I believe, I'm trying to recall what it was exactly. Yeah, get rect, I think. And essentially, player rect, we're going to store it like that. And if we use player rect, player rect at this point is 0, 0, but we can, of course, use other methods to say player rect dot move 10, 50. I'm sorry. Yeah, so MoveInPlace is what that stands for. And we can use this move IP method to essentially move around this rect, which is a rectangular coordinates, is what that stands for. And it's essentially what we had before, but we can move it around with some easier methods to ultimately make our process for moving objects around a little bit easier. So now that we have a method for actually changing where the player is, we have to do something a little bit more fun, which is to add the user input. So I'm going to say player values drawing player. So right below the event handler, so actually in the event handler, we could write, well, actually, now we could do something along the lines of, and I am going to demo this for you. There are two different ways to get input in this. If event.type, just like below, equals pygame.keypress, then we can say if event.key equals pygame.k underscore whatever key you want. But you can also do escape. K underscore escape, sorry. Simply put here, dot syntax, what a mistake here. See. See what's that? Is it keys? Or wait. I can't recall what it was underneath. Sorry, key down. I'm misrecalling what it's underneath. PyGame. Whoops. I believe it's just key. I'm misrecalling it. So the way that I had it imported, the way that I usually import, but I didn't for simplicity's sake for you guys for this one, is really just to import like this and start out from the top. So I know it's under PyGame.locals, so I made it as well. And of course, that's about coping with the unpredictable. But yeah, so at this point, all these enumerations are imported correctly, I believe. Oh, I'm realizing, oh, it's because I didn't put anything in here. I think I was calling it correctly. I just didn't import, or sorry, I didn't put anything in here. My mistake. Yeah, so we could push the X button to end the program, or we could just push escape to end the program. And that's one way to get key input, but there's also get pressed, PyGame dot key dot get pressed, get press. And what this does is returns a quick and easy dictionary of trues and falses with all of the things that have actually been pressed within that last event queue, that is, since it was last called. So we can call it here and that. And we can do if k underscore up, I believe. Yeah. If pressed k up, and it does return a Boolean, so you can just leave it like that. Then first we're going to say print up. Just make sure it's working. Oops. There we go. Of course, collects down and up, down inputs. And so really what we're going to do is every single time we have k up in there, we're going to do our MoveInPlace thing. But instead of doing it like instead of, oops. I'm going to draw it out here. If the MoveInPlace system essentially says if you're over here, then you pass a 10 movement in or 10 0, then it'll say 10 is the X change, positive 10, and then 0 is the Y change. So what we really want to do is make a minus 10 Y change, or minus 1 Y change, that is, so it's not so fast. In order to do that, we can say player rect dot move IP, MoveInPlace. And then we pass a little tuple. We say -1 or 0, -1. And that essentially equates to slightly up, ever so slightly up, but not horizontally changing at all. So we're not changing the X at all. And player rect move IP 0, 1. Opposite direction, move down a little bit every single time we hit down. Whoops. It's very, very fast because the processing is, we don't have a limiter on how fast we're processing this. But yeah, that's essentially I'm pushing the up and down, and that's how it runs. We can, of course, do quick little timing things. We can actually slow this thing down. That's the last thing I'm really going to be showing you. Clock. Whoops. PyGame. .time. Clock. At the very end, we're just going to tack on very, very simply clock.tick. And this thing takes one parameter, which I'm going to save as a global actually, which is the frame rate, the intended frame rate that you want your program to run at. So we're going to say 30. You can adjust that as you need to, and it'll adjust your timings depending on your processing power and how fast it's processing, however much you need. It'll try to do a 30 frame rate. And of course, that's a little bit more controllable, obviously. You can go to 60 if you'd like. You can also regulate your speed movement in accordance with changes in frame rate. But yeah, I haven't encoded left-right controls, but it's a very basic same thing as MoveIP, with this instead being the 1 or -1, the other one being 0, and just using K up or K left. Anyways, I did want to open this up to you guys very soon, so I don't want to keep on rambling on. Here, okay. So my last thing being my tips for you before I open up to questions is to get your reports out of the way within 24 hours. That's pretty useful. There's examples of reports on the class page, or not the class page, the Thinklin Discord, I believe. Ask Mike about that if you would like to see him. Keep organized class recording and schedules, class founders, etc. I have a class recordings folder, shared folder, where there's a link shared and has all of my class recordings for that specific class. Schedules, obviously, calendars. I have a work record, which has things like dates, times for all the classes that I've ever taught, and also payment, because that can be useful in terms of like filing taxes at the very end of the year. You're going to want to keep records of that. Be ready for the unexpected. Things are not going to go according to your lesson plan all the time, but ultimately, you should be ready to tackle whatever comes at you. And be flexible about that, by the way. Give opportunities for your students to practice, ask questions, prompt them to ask questions, prompt them to be a part of the process in terms of your teaching, and have fun. Don't overthink it too much. Just step through it one bit at a time, and I'm sure you'll do fine. So with that, I'm going to open up the last few minutes, 8 minutes, to a Q&A. Send me messages in chat. I'll answer them. They can be about the specific course. It can be about Thinklin in total, whatever you want. If you want, you can raise your hand, send a chat message. Go ahead, Yuga.
I have a question about like what's the next step. I should go over the can I share my screen, I guess?
Yeah.
Getting started on the Thinkland and go through it. Or I'm not sure what's the next step to.
Yeah. There we go. Okay, so the next step. So I'm going to share with you my experience in terms of what next step was. So you start on with going over the training materials. Is 003 plus on the start of your page?
Repeat that again.
Is AI003 plus on the start here page that you were given in your
AI0? Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So 003 plus, you should go into the classroom, check out all the materials. If you ever have an issue with accessing one of the materials, just DM Mike L. He's on the Discord, and just go through all of that, get an understanding of what the course is about, And once you're ready with that, I believe that now the system for evaluations is to send a video to some bot, I think. Back when I was, it's new, so I'm not exactly entirely sure about that. You might have to ask Mike. But back when I was there, it was just you met with someone and you did a little interview, you did your demo class, that sort of thing. I met with Andre himself actually for that. But yeah, no, you evaluation is the next step there. And yeah, I mean, once you're evaluated, you might not get contacted immediately after evaluation. If you were accepted, you should probably ask about that and reach out to check out your status after a week or two. But yeah, I mean, in the meantime, have a little bit of organization ready. You don't need to overplan it. Just have some basic idea of what the course will look like. So that once you're eventually assigned a course, or once you're given a course, once you sign up for the course on our platform, I think there's a few different ways you can do it at this point. You can, of course, just jump right into it and get your scheduling out of the way. Because I give advice to have the scheduling and plans in place, because then like I think it's a little bit better to have that going in, because it helps you feel a little more prepared. Because I remember my first class was a little bit overwhelming in terms of like, did I feel ready to teach this class? It was a 005 class. But yeah, I mean, you'll find that you'll feel a lot more ready after you get that schedule out of the way.
Last thing, it says like video number 1, day 1, or is it split up in days?
Videos. Where are you seeing the videos?
Training video, day number 1 or something.
Training video. I've not seen the training videos. I think this is a training session, which I think is going to be the new training video there. But I never actually did the training sessions. I just taught myself the curriculum, so I wouldn't be specifically knowing about that. But I mean, you can watch the videos if you'd like, if you feel they're helpful. Does anybody have any questions? If you have any more questions, you can ask. Okay, well, yeah, I mean, if nobody's got any questions, I mean, I guess you guys can head out, and I can end the meeting there, because I know the next, actually, this is the last one. Yeah, okay. It's great to see you guys. My name is Ethan Parab. You can find me you can search me on the Discord, I'm pretty sure. You can reach out to me for any questions on 003 plus, but also 003, like the regular one before this one. I also teach 005, which is Java. And Andre Holder is the course developer for this. He'll be able to answer any more questions or any issues that you have in terms of like what you have available to you, what resources there are. You can also find him on the Discord. Mike L will be the person coordinating evaluations, class assignments, all that sort of thing. Yeah, I mean, if you have any questions about anything, I mean, it doesn't have to be about 003 plus. It could just be about evals, getting into a course, or like getting yourself assigned to a course, payment, alternate opportunities for volunteering and that sort of thing here. Anything at all I can answer for you. If not, you can just leave. I'll be around here until the last 2 guys goes. Thank you all for coming.
Guess last question for the evals. Should we just do like one every, like do everything at once, or like spread out, or
There's only one eval for each course, I believe.
okay.
It should just be one lesson. If you're doing a bunch of evals for a bunch of different courses, I mean, you could just get them all out of the way whenever you want to, whenever you feel ready for them. I'd recommend like do an eval when you feel ready.
Or like the strongest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
you want to get it out. Go ahead.
No, I feel better with like Java or Python than with Scratch, so probably get those done first.
Yeah, you don't have to get all of them done. Do whatever you feel, whatever you want to teach. And yeah, I mean, get them out of the way as soon as possible so that obviously you can get into a course sooner. But I mean, like, don't stress out about too much. It's really just a way for you to show that you know what's going on in the course. So it's nothing more than that. you'll find that once you get your first course out of the way, evals become a little less important, and that you really the goal being that you have to show you that you have experience and that sort of thing by some method. But yeah, so don't worry too much about it. You'll be fine.
I gotta head out. See you guys later.
Okay. See you later. Bye. Mina, are you here? Do you have any questions to ask? Yeah, then with that, I'm just gonna end the meeting here because we're at the end time now. So yeah, name's Ethan Parr. You can contact me later if you're having technical issues or something. You want to ask something, but yeah, I'll see you later. Bye.